Hi there and welcome to Magic. In this video we're going to have a look at how to get started with Magic. Now I've created this video several times previously, but since Magic has evolved quite significantly and is also much simpler today than it used to be the last time I created this video, I wanted to create a new video to show how to get started with Magic from version 5.5.8. Now here I have Magic, the latest download of it. You should always download Magic. Do not clone the repository. You're of course free to do that if you want to, but I cannot guarantee that the master Git repository branch is always 100% fully functional, because I am using it to develop Magic. So here is the latest version of Magic, version 5.5.8. I'm going to do this on Mac, so I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. First I'm going to change directory into the directory where I have Magic unzipped. Then I'm going to use Code, Visual Studio Code, and open it in the main folder of Magic. From here I can basically open up a terminal window, actually two terminal windows. However, my first terminal window, I'm going to change directory and move into my front end folder inside of Magic. If I now do ls, you'll see that I'm inside of the front end folder. Don't click the restore button if Visual Studio asks you to do that. It's just going to create a race condition. From my front end folder, I'm going to write npm link. Now Magic uses Angular as its front end SPA framework, so I'm going to have to link in Angular. Now this might take some time because it is linking in everything required to run and compile and so on the front end parts of Magic. However, just let it finish. And then when it is done, we're going to serve it over Node.js using Angular. And now it is done. When it is done with npm link, you can type ng serve. Then we're going to need another terminal window. Just click the plus sign here and type cd magic.backend. This changes the folder into the actual C# backend parts of the project, and from here we can just type .NET run. This compiles the C# code and starts my backend. Let's see if Angular is done here. 10%. This might also take some time, unfortunately. And also I'm on a very old Mac. My MacBook Air is 5 years old and it's starting to sing on its final verse. So now our backend is started. Let's check out Node. 69%. Okay. Almost 100%. And there we are. Now we can open up Google Chrome, for instance. Then we're going to go to localhost 4200. And then it's going to look like this when it is done loading. Then we're going to log in with username root and password root. When we're logging in, the first thing Magic is going to warn us about is that we need to secure our system in its setup module. Okay, let's close this guy and change to setup. I'm going to be choosing a MySQL database here. Then I'm going to choose password of admin. Then I'm going to click the setup button. And since I already had that database in existence from before, I was logged out of the system and it didn't create the database. It just wired up everything required to use that database. So now I'm logged in And in fact, if I log out now and I try to log in with root/root, then the system is going to prevent me from logging in. You see, at this point, I actually have an authentication and authorization database automatically created for me by Magic, and my password happens to now be admin instead of root. And in fact, I can verify that by going to the SQL pane here. Then I can use magic_auth, and then I can select all from users. And then I can evaluate this script, and as you can see here, I have 2 users. However, before I can go to the users menu item here, I need to CRUDify my authentication database. The way I do that is that I go to CRUDify here, then I choose MySQL, then I'm going to choose Magic Auth, and then I'm going to choose all tables. When I click CRUDify all here, what the system is going to do, it's going to create automatically on behalf of me HTTP REST CRUD endpoints wrapping every single table in that database. So let's do that. And it now created 12 HTTP REST endpoints for me automatically with 115 lines of code. And we can actually already go to those endpoints and have a look at them. Here you see all the 12 endpoints it created. If I now, for instance, invoke gets here for users, then you will see it actually returns my users here. Now at this point, we can go to the users menu. And we can actually look at our users, we can add roles to them, we can delete users. Let's delete this guy. We can create a new user called Foo with a password of Foo. And the system is going to create that user for us. We can associate a role with that user. We can associate multiple roles with that user. And we can delete roles from that user and delete the user in its entirety. However, there is one thing we want to do actually now. And that is we want to edit the users gets endpoint. We will find it in the files menu here underneath modules, underneath magic_auth. If we now find users dots and then we find a users.get.hl endpoint, we can edit it. And what we want to do is that we want to prevent it from returning the password to the client. In this particular version of Magic, this implies going to line 37 and simply deleting the entire line. Make sure you delete the entire line and not only its password, because that might mess up the actual Hyperlambda syntax of your Hyperlambda file. Now this is modifying my HTTP GET endpoint for my users, such that if I now save this guy and then I go back to my endpoints and then I find users, or let's find gets, it's probably easier, and then I invoke that endpoint like this, you see it no longer returns the password for my users. But it still perfectly works with the users menu item because it doesn't depend upon the password field being there in any ways. So I can now create users, create Foo, I can add him to the role of guests, okay, etc, etc, and I can delete it. And now, of course, I do have a perfect JWT authentication and authorization server. And I can already, if I go now to my endpoints, I can use these endpoints in any front end I wish, ranging from React and Vue and Angular to iPhone native apps, whatever, really, as my authentication server. In such a way, this system becomes basically a replacement for instance, things like Identity Server or OAuth projects, etc. And I can use it as a single sign-on. And of course, at this point, I can also go to the SQL pane and I can evaluate any SQL I happen to have here to create any database I wish, and I can start the CRUDification process for that database and CRUDify it any ways I see fit, and also tie it together perfectly with my existing JWT authentication and authorization server. And of course, I can go to the scheduler, I can create scheduled tasks, I can go to files and I can upload files and modify my file systems any way I see fits, etc, etc. So I've now successfully set up Magic. And by the way, when you go through the setup process, if your connection string is not capable of actually connecting Magic to an actual database, then it's going to show your entire app settings.json file in a syntax highlighted code mirror editor, allowing you to edit it inline from the browser directly, such that you are capable of actually creating a successfully connection string connecting to your database, whatever that may be, either MySQL or Microsoft's SQL Server. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day.